The UPS guy brings in the packages and drops them right here. He says that the only person that gets more UPS deliveries than we do is Walmart. I think that's pretty good for a small town. So let's talk about the machines a little bit. All right, the first new member of our team here is this tacker. It was delivered last week when the one we had before died in the middle of the day, of course. This particular tacker is a Singer, and that was particularly the type I wanted because it's supposed to be stronger. This machine, a lot of the machines are altered button sewers, and that's what we had before. This particular machine is supposed to be a bar tacker, and so far so good. So this one's back in the corner. Next to it is the first of our regular sewing machines. It's a Brother. We have three, a Brother and two Singers. I'll show you in a few minutes, but the Singer that's on the end down there is the very first industrial machine that I bought almost 30 years ago. I bought it secondhand from a delivery guy, and it's still going. I love it. This is my serger. It's a 4-thread serger from Brother, which was a great investment. We use it a lot. And this is our little portable blind hammer. Now, some of you may not know, but I am a big Dufix user, and we use Dufix for our hems more than we do the blind hammer, but we find that we really have to have one just in case we might need it for something else. So this little portable one, I think it cost me $500, has been perfect for that. We pull it out when we need it, and we put it away when we don't. These stands also have been a godsend to us, but it's made out of PVC pipe. And we have several of these sitting around. You'll see them as we go back about the room, but they're used to hang lining and interlining after it's cut, to hang panels before they're folded and put in plastic. And by the way, everything that comes out of this workroom is put in plastic and tied up because we don't know what's going to happen to it when it leaves here, and we're afraid that if it gets soiled or something, the blame could come back on us. So we're really, really careful to make sure that everything is tied up. And then we also have these stands. Scott Robbins sells something similar. I don't think the fellow that did these is around anymore, but they're metal stands that extend up. And we have 3 of these, and also with an extension on each one that makes it go up really high. But this is where we attach our boards when we're going to put the window treatment on the board to staple on. Our compressor is over there under a shelf and out of the way, and we have a pneumatic nail gun that we use to attach everything. If you don't have a pneumatic nail gun, you really need, or staple gun, you really need to get one. You can see here that we've got a pretty narrow shelf all the way down the wall here, and we've rigged up some little shelving units, shelving pieces that kind of will help to stabilize the draperies as they're working on them. One of the smartest things I did when we redid the workroom a while back was we used chipboard on the walls instead of sheetrock, which is normal here. I didn't want to use, it was kind of expensive to use plywood, so the chipboard has turned out to be the perfect thing because we're able to mount things in the wall as we need them and move them without making too much damage on the walls. But if you'll look up here, I have a whole series of L brackets that are all at the same height, and they're all the way down this wall, and we use that when we need to for storage of the window treatments that are ready to go out, things that I don't want to package and put on a table somewhere. I want them to hang up so they won't be so wrinkled. The ladies that work for me, two of them worked in a sewing plant for many, many years, and they were used to certain things, and one of them are these bins. You'll see Miss Gail keeps her stuff in there, her own private things, and we've made it possible for them to have the stuff that they're comfortable with around. Notice here the reels that have all of our cord on them. That's portable. It can get moved from one place to the other. And you'll notice that everywhere there are trash cans. There are trash cans all over the shop, and that's obviously for trash, so that we try to kind of aim at the trash cans. We don't always make it, and there's a lot of vacuuming. Another thing we do with our trash cans, which may seem a little odd to some people, but we do know which is a trash can and which is a container for tall things like poles and rods and that sort of thing. These are our Dufix head rails that are here waiting to be made into Roman shades. Another smart thing that we did when we redid the workroom is this wall is covered with Seal-Tex instead of the chipboard, and that's a pinning surface usually used for soft ceilings, but on this particular pinning surface we have a grid that Janelle and I have been working on for a while from Adaptive Textiles to be able to work on things that need to be done vertically, like droop draperies, swags. When you're doing a huge swag that's 120 inches wide or something that's on an arch, you need to have a place to mount your template, and this is the perfect space for the templates. Shades and top treatments are worked on this table. Notice that we have the rulers down the side. I don't have a gridded table. I just never have used one. We do things a little differently from other people, and we have a lot of rulers, but we love the table as is. And notice the Dufix track hanging over. There are two Dufix irons at one end of each of our larger tables. The other one I'll show you in a minute. But the iron hangs suspended, obviously, above the table with the Dufix. I don't know how we get along without them. I think the ladies would probably quit if I took away their Dufix irons. We use them every day. There are two because it enables two people to be able to work at the same time. This is the drapery table. It's longer, so most of the draperies are made here. And it also has a Dufix track. I want you to notice that the hose of the Dufix is held up with bungee cords here. That's because the hose, we need to get all of the length we can out of that hose. So this drops the hose down instead of taking it all the way back up to the track. It drops it down where we can get more length from that hose. Again, we have one on either side of the table, and the draperies are done here. Over there, on the other side of the table, is a lower table. It's used for making patterns. Years ago, I used to use this grid, but we used mostly vellum, which was used in the granite industry here in Elberton to do something in the granite monument production. I'm not sure what. It has something to do with the templates for the sandblasting, I think. But it has gotten expensive over the years, so now we use the alphanumeric paper that we get in large rolls, and I pull that paper up over the table, so the grid isn't so important anymore. But I use this because I need to be able to get up over the table with my drawing instruments so that I can draft a pattern here. This is a project that I was given, and the shape of it is a little bit different. It's 94 inches wide. So what we did is I pulled the paper up onto the table, folded it in half, and because it had 5 sections that all needed to be exactly alike, the first thing I drew was this curve going into this first curve section in the center. And then by folding it in half, in quarters, I was able to match that exact curve all the way into the end. You'll notice that I've marked my short point and my long point You can tell here there's a long point there, and then this goes down a little further on the outside edge, so that's the long point. Careful to leave my 5.5 inch returns on here. What we've learned over the years is you're better not to draw the seam allowances at all. They're so much easier to just cut in when you're cutting the pattern than it is to try to draw them in. So what we're going to do with this now, because the picture that I was given was a very stiff looking, almost cornice-like. We think it's a soft cornice. So we're going to cut this into individual pieces, and we're going to finish the project by adhering this to the Do Fix fabric stiffener and adding our cord and everything on that. We'll make it look like a pleated valance with a shape to it, but it actually will be individual pieces. They'll all be stapled to a board or Velcroed. We haven't quite decided which yet, but we'll put it on the, I guess it'll have to be stapled because there's going to be a cord 5 inches down here on the top. But I think it'll give a real interesting look. On this side of the room, we have storage for things like button forms, grommets, the grommet presses, and our place where we keep the Do Fix here and tapes. Every inch is taken up with something in this room. It's not the biggest room in the world. It's bigger than most workrooms, but there are a lot of us down here. Over here we've got our lining excesses. We try to keep everything labeled if it's a long piece so that we can go back and find what we need. Hook and loop tape, everything you need. Screws, eyelets, tools are all in here. Here's another piece of equipment I don't know how I ever lived without. This is a fabric inspection machine, but it's also a measuring machine. There is a computer in here that you can program into the length of fabric that you wish to cut, and then when you flip the button, it will measure off that much and you can cut it off. We keep lining and interlining on it all the time because most of our fabric is pattern and it's cut to pattern, so it's harder to do on a machine. We cut our face fabrics by hand, but still this machine saves us so much time in cutting the lining and the interlining. And anybody can do it. It's real easy to figure out. This little area used to be a bar or a kitchen in years past when my children used this as a playroom. Now it keeps the measuring machine on one side, and on the other side we use it for storage for things that are completed. There is a little sink in here. We use that for water, and that's about it. All of these are patterns for pillows, shams, and why we have so many, well, we make one and then we fold it up and keep it. There are lots of patterns here. Notice too here that we have our rulers and our right angles and our part hill system. Our part hill system is here on the wall, so it's kind of up and out of the way. I'd like for you to see also the storage that we have for the fabrics that come in. Once they've come in from UPS, Holly, who works for me, records every fabric in a book, and she cuts a swatch. We do this because we're concerned about losing things, but every fabric is then rewrapped in clean plastic, and it's put under this table in our storage area. So in that same vein, up here on the wall are shelves and a lot of plastic bins, and each plastic bin is trimmed for a certain job. We use a lot of masking tape because the masking tape has the name of the client and the designer in the room on it. Also on shelves behind my handy dandy little swag thing here that I'll show you in a few minutes are other storage bins. We've tried to make use of every inch of room. Most of these things are for shades and swags here. but it's easy to get to. We know where everything is. Everything's labeled. We do have 2 extra rooms besides the workroom. They're kind of small, but they serve the purpose. This is my office. I had someone come in to the office and put all of these shelves up. I think it was California Closets or one of those franchises. But the really wonderful part of it was this desktop. And they did wall-to-wall desktop with drawers underneath. I really don't like a lot of clutter. I know that may seem odd because there's a lot of clutter out there. And there's clutter in here too, but it's organized clutter. This is where I work. I quote, I bill, I order everything I have to order. I write up all the work orders. I think it's kind of interesting that we've made our own work orders. When everything comes in for a job, all of the materials are in, it gets a date. It gets a 6 weeks date. Now, I thought that would limit me as to what I can do, but actually it's the most freeing thing I've ever done, because when everything's in, I have a little rolling file here, and the rolling file is so that other people can use it when they need to. And it's done by date. So a date goes on the file, and then it goes behind its date. And I can tell front to back exactly what's in line to be worked on and when the 6 weeks date is. We always tell people 6 to 8 weeks. So if I'm hitting on 6 weeks, I might be panicking a little. I don't know, we might be working a little overtime, but we always manage to get them done somehow. We do them in order this way. Then after the order is done, I do an e-invoice. It goes in a file by designer waiting to be paid. When I quote, the quotes go into a different rolling file, which is over there, and that's separated by designers. Now there's a file at the front that says hold for info, which means I'm waiting on somebody to call me back and tell me something. Tell me what the repeat is or how wide it is, sometimes whatever information that they've left off. The others are divided up by designers in alphabetical order if there's a lot of it, so that I can find things. Since I have a travel schedule, and that involves a lot of planning on my part with airplanes and shuttles and what have you, I keep a little file here for wherever I'm going next, and for future travels, so that I can keep everything in one place. So when it's 2 days ahead of time, I can find my airplane ticket and my shuttle ticket and my numbers, so I won't be late. These are things I'm in the process of working on here. So when you set up your home office, I learned the hard way. You have to really make sure that everything is at hand. You want to make sure that all of the things that you're going to use are where you can get your hands on them. And another thing I learned too is I have a view outside my window. This is my lifeline with what's outside. I keep it with plants and flowers. I watch the birds. I watch the chipmunks and the squirrels, which sometimes I'd like to shoot. We've had snakes, we've had deer, we've had all sorts of stuff outside that window. I enjoy that very much. It's a lifeline for me. So remember that when you're setting up your office. Also, this printer is a printer, copier, fax machine. If I'm going to be using it a lot, I can swing this out where I can sit in my desk and I don't have to get up. And it sounds like such a simple thing, but if you'll put things where you don't have to get up for them, it'll make life so much easier for you. This is our storage room. In here we keep things that we're going to be working on besides fabrics. Things like pillows, pillow forms, foam for cushions, and oftentimes we have a large supply of pillows being ready to be worked on. I kind of have gotten over ordering in bulk. I order what I need when I need them, so that I won't have a big supply like this. All of these pillow forms, oh my gosh, there must be 30 or 40 here actually orders that we have to make up pretty soon. I do, however, buy foam before I need it, because there is a supplier from Atlanta that brings a truck here once a month. So I try to anticipate what I may need for that month. And there's certain things that I keep 3-inch, 4-inch slabs and 1-inch slabs so that it'll be here when I need it, because it's so expensive to ship here. Because I'm in the basement, I'm so conscious of it being musty and mustiness getting in the fabrics or the supplies that we keep this dehumidifier going all the time. We also ship, so I have boxes that I have bought from Uline, which are here waiting to be used. A little secret is I have a storage building also that's full of boxes and Dacron and all that sort of stuff that I pay about $60 a month for. I also keep all my samples in there for my classes that I've held over the years. You can't see it, but behind here are installation supplies, hardware, brackets, poles, screws, traverse rods, whatever I've collected over the last 30 years. This is where Holly checks in fabrics and does the shipping and keeps up with her goods in here. That about wraps it up with what goes on inside. I'd like to show you, though, the way we deal with our boards and the wood that we have to have in the shop to do the window treatments, including the cornices. We do all of that outside, so come on. I made the decision to not bring saws and things into the shop because I didn't want to deal with, one, the smell of it, and two, the sawdust, which this looks pretty good because we cleaned up because we knew you were coming. But we have a table saw here that allows us to rip boards, and my chop saw, which I've been using the same one for a long time. We cut our boards to length with this. It's also a miter saw, which we use sometimes, not as much as I thought I would. We are under a nice overhang here, so I don't have to worry about these things getting wet. We do kind of have to pay attention to make sure they're oiled so that they don't rust. But so far, we've not had a big problem with that. Over here, I have a large table covered with MDF, and this is where we actually do the physical work of making the cornices. One of my employees, Gail, is a whiz at making cornices, and she likes to do that. So we actually cut and build our own cornices here at this table. We take them inside to cover, but the physical work of building them is out here. Sometimes it's too cold and sometimes it's too hot, but we always manage somehow. When we had the work done on the house, I had the contractor to install these huge L brackets, I guess you'd call them. It's a metal base, and it is attached to the brick, to the wall, so we can keep our boards here. They stay flat, they don't get wet, they don't usually warp, although we do have some problems with warpage, but it's not as bad as you might think. And I can buy them in long pieces, 10 to 12 foot pieces here, and have them when I need them. I'm really lucky that I have a local company that will deliver the wood. Many years I went and got it in the pickup truck myself, but now they bring it here for me. So this is a great system for keeping wood. We make most of our cornices out of plywood, 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch. I just like plywood better. Maybe I'm old-fashioned or something. I don't know. I never have to worry about the staples coming out, and it works really well for us. There is a large, I think it may be a 1x10 or 2x10 underneath here that keeps this up off the ground so that it doesn't get wet.